Well, we're now at the stage in Canada's dystopian downfall where local politicians and mayors across the country are trying to shut down comedy shows because the jokes might be a little too offensive. God forbid Canadians in these rather trying times have something to laugh about. Surely we can't be having any of that anywhere in this country. Well, that's happening right now to a great comedy group known as the Danger Cats. They've been shut down and canceled across the country, and recently at a local event in Peace River, Alberta, in a small Alberta town. The local mayor tried to shut down the show because the jokes were a little too offensive. Well, of course, the show had to go on, and it did. But we're joined now by one of the Danger Cats members to explain what on earth is going on in this country when it comes to stand-up comedy. All right, well, joining us now on the Faulkner Show is comedian Brendan Black, also known as Uncle Hack of the Danger Cats. Brendan, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Harrison.
So what's going on here? Why are mayors so afraid of your comedy? What's the deal here?
You know, I'm still trying to figure that part out. I guess jokes are the scariest thing in 2024 now after we got through one of the most deadliest viruses to ever plague the planet.
I mean, what's going on with comedy though? Where is the sense of humor gone? That mayors like the mayor in Peace River, Alberta, a small northern Alberta town, the mayor tried to shut your show down. What was the reason behind that? Surely they gave you a reason.
They did, and they said that the content was too controversial.
Okay. I'm guessing based off of previous shows you've done, what kind of content is too controversial for a mayor in a far north Alberta town? You would think that they're conservatives up there, no?
Yeah, you would think, but yeah, I'm not sure what she's seen or what she's heard, but I asked her if she's ever been to one of our shows, and she told me that she has not. So I'm unsure what exactly was the joke that really set her off to cancel the show. So I tried getting that answer out of her, and she was very reluctant to give that to me.
Well, you were looking for a straight answer at that from a politician, which is a tall task these days. Take us through what happened, because you obviously didn't listen to the mayor, I'm hoping. You went ahead with your show, I'm assuming. What happened after that?
Well, so the beginning of the story goes is I had booked the hall, and this is back like summertime, early summertime, and everything was good. Week of 2 weeks out, I was like, oh, I haven't heard from these guys. Maybe I should call them and get the procedure on like, what do we need? Where do we get the keys? Do we have to sweep floors? What's the deal here? Do we set up the chairs? Blah, blah, blah. So I called the office that does the booking, and they put me through to a gentleman that has been trying to get a hold of me since September to let me know that the show has been canceled. And it's just like an administration kind of deal. You know, I don't fault him one bit. He just had the wrong information to get a hold of me, had the wrong email and whatever. So it's not his fault. But then I'm now learning that the show has been canceled since September. And he tells me that the mayor had stepped in, their CAO, and also his boss. I don't know the title of that position, but they stepped in and canceled the show for reasons of being too controversial or too whatever. So I decided to call the mayor, and didn't answer, left my phone, or left a callback number. She had called me late at night, and I was just chilling, watching a little Thursday night football, and I was not expecting a call from a mayor that late. So I wasn't prepared. I didn't even know who the hell was calling me. And it was it's an elderly woman, so it's a very soft voice. And then when she said Elaine, then I was like, oh, are you the mayor of Peace River? And she was like, I am. And I was like, oh, I'm one of the comedians that you canceled the show on. And then the demeanor changed entirely. And I was like, I would just like to know why.
Yeah.
And yeah, she just said, at the time, we found the content to be too controversial. And I asked, well, have you seen our show? Nope. was like, well, then how do you know that the content is too controversial? Well, I always get that. Well, like I'm supposed to know what they're thinking.
That's
And
absurd.
then, that happened. So that led to me scrambling to find a location, and that was out in Berwyn, just outside of Peace River. A friend of a friend, he has a local bar out there, so we just decided, we'll go out there, we'll do the show, we'll make it happen. And it's a town of 517 people. We put 100 people in the bar, and 30 people were outside protesting. So the population increase is like, what, 12% of a small little hamlet of Alberta?
Yeah.
It was the most action that town has seen in probably 30 years.
That's crazy. So I saw on social media that the police showed up at your show. I'm guessing they didn't purchase tickets to attend.
They got a bill in the mail.
Yeah, nice. And what were they there to try to shut it down, or what was the deal with that?
They had showed up. I don't know the whole reasoning, but from my understanding, that someone called them, and because of the protesters outside that were harassing people that were coming into the venue, that seemed to be the issue. And apparently, these are like perpetual protesters of that area. So this was their big Friday night. So we were able to bring the community together.
This is not the first time you've had a show canceled on your group. I've noticed that there have been several shows that seem to have protesters at the front, and they take issue with a bunch of other things. How many times have you been canceled at this point?
It's sad to admit, but a lot. It is
That's
sad
bad.
to admit. And I don't know. It's kind of come to the point now where you just kind of, in the beginning, it was very like disheartening, like it hurt, and now it's just part of, I hate that it's become part of like, maybe this might be the answer that I got to get of like, hey, we don't want you here. But I'm finding a shift is most of these venue owners now, they want the business, after lockdowns and everything, like inflation's hurting them, that they want something. Like we are an economic engine when we come in through town. Like I've noticed that some places that we go to a restaurant and the restaurant's full, and the waitress is like, we don't know what's going on in town right now, but there is a lot of people out. So like when we do come to these small towns, bars, hotels, everybody sees an influx of income. So the positive outcome of us coming there is great, especially for those that do have local businesses and are looking to generate some money. So
Right. And you know what I don't understand is that everybody for the longest time has known that comedy is supposed to be offensive and it's supposed to make people feel a little uncomfortable at times, but to have a good laugh. You're not supposed to, have like weak, soft jokes. You're supposed to have the freedom to make jokes about everyone. What happened all of a sudden? Because now we're dealing with comics being canceled and people taking comedy too seriously. Where did the sense of humor go from everybody in this country?
I think it just becomes you want your voice or heard, and I don't blame them. And I have no ill will towards these people that are protesting. You're exercising your right as a Canadian, and if that isn't present, then there's something wrong here. You deserve as much freedom as I do. So I'm not sure. I think maybe this is their way of being heard, and this is their way of coming together with their group. Maybe this is something that they do, like I've heard in a number of occasions that some of these places that we do go and protesters do show up, that this is what they do. Like you talk to the cops or whoever, and it's like, are these guys always protesting? And they're like, yeah, we deal with these people quite often, and they are constantly protesting something. So maybe we're just the flavor of the week because we are coming to that area. I think that's probably the biggest reason. But as far as like sense of humor, like I find that, like the people are coming to the shows, they are
Right.
wanting to laugh. So it is there, it is present.
And I want to ask you now about some of the new legislation that's coming down, specifically this online hate speech idea, the idea that's being debated on right now in Parliament. Basically, you could end up in prison for some jokes that are deemed to be to cross the political correctness line. I mean, ending up in prison would give you a lot of material, but I'm not sure. Is that a price you're willing to pay in this country?
Well, the end goal is the states. Always, that's bigger population, more clubs to work. It's just that's where you want to end up. You don't want to. Unfortunately, Canada, for how big the land is, we just don't possess a lot of comedy clubs here. I'm grateful for the ones that we do have, but you want to end up down there. So maybe I'm already across the border by the time, but when I come back, they'll slap the cuffs on and teach me a lesson. But it is worrisome. It is some legislation that we shouldn't just be treading lightly with. It should be concerning, because if we're going to start telling people what they can and cannot say, this becomes a very slippery slope. And even the ones that are championing this bill going through, they're going to come for you eventually. It doesn't just end with the people that you hate. It also comes for you at the end of the day.
And as you point out, this is being done by a small minority of Canadians. I think the overwhelming majority of Canadians don't believe in these hate speech laws. They want to go to a comedy show. They want to be able to laugh at themselves. They want to be able to laugh at others that are, seem to be protected in this country. And yet it's a small group of people that are trying to push this. You think comedy has a future in Canada if something like this comes through and is in law?
I think it does. And I know that goes against the grain, because then it makes it more fun. You have to be more creative. You then become a bit of an outlaw. And that's an enjoyable path to know that if you're disliked by them and hated by them and they want you to shut the hell up, it brings this new adventure into it. Obviously at the end of the day, we're just going to tell jokes, but it does sound fun. It does have a little bit of a and maybe we are on that path right now a little bit with what we're doing and coming into these towns, and it's like like an old outlaw movie where these goons are coming into the saloon to come play poker and donate some shillings to the local bordello.
I mean, it's crazy that a small comedy group, a three-man comedy group, just manages to pull out the crazies in each town you go to. I got to ask you about this, because one of the reasons why your shows last year were being canceled was because of some merch you were selling, the Picton Farm shirts. Explain what happened here, because I've seen some people reporting on this who don't have any sense of humor and can't laugh about it. They didn't even bring you on to talk about it. So I want to ask you, what's gone on there? Why did the left and why did people freak out over these shirts? You guys were donating the proceeds to charity, no?
Yeah, $0 were donated to the Ukraine.
Well, that was the funniest part, I thought, at least.
It does make me laugh hearing reporters have to take that serious, that we are donating the proceeds to the Ukraine. That did make me laugh. But this is another thing that they are getting wrong about the shirt is, so Sam has been telling a joke now for over 3 years on stage about Robert Picton. And he then thought like, oh, I've been telling this joke for 3 years. There is nobody crazy enough to put themselves on a t-shirt with that man. And he took it upon himself and he said, I'll do it. He put himself on that t-shirt. And the crazy thing is, no one bought it. There was 0 sales of that shirt. It existed on our website for, I want to say 11 months, and not a single person bought it. They were not interested in it, dismissed it. I actually forgot it was on the website until February of last year. And then we got tipped off that this is going to be an article. So I went into the back end of our website. I changed some coding so that way nobody could buy it. But then it came up and it said that it was sold out, opposed to just not available. So then it looked like we're rubbing salt in the wounds that because of this happening. But meanwhile, here we haven't sold a single one. And the the crazy thing is they, with the media circulating this image, it caused this want and need for it. So these off sales, these like offshoot sites, like Walmart has it posted on their website. Somebody had put it on that website and Walmart is selling it. So any sales of that shirt was never on our behalf.
And yet it was used as a way to attack you guys, and it resulted in protests. It's just absurd. Again, I don't understand how so many people refuse to acknowledge that comedians are not like pushing a political message. They're not running for office. They're here to make people laugh. Like, that's the idea that people just don't seem to figure out. They don't seem to get that.
Yeah. So the lie that they've been perpetuating in the mainstream media is that we profited off of murdered and missing Indigenous women, which is not the case at all. We didn't. In fact, Sam lost money by paying for an artist to do that image. And then on top of it, the only copy of that shirt he had paid for. So he has the only one that has ever been in existence on our behalf.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, like, are we not allowed to make jokes anymore? Are comics not allowed to make jokes anymore about certain groups of people, certain subjects? Like, that's kind of that's the direction we're headed in right now. It's like, oh, you can make fun of your own group, but if you're not Indigenous or if you're not Black, you can't make jokes about those groups of people. Otherwise, people are going to get really upset at you. That can't be a good environment for comedy.
I mean, those people that don't want to include themselves in the joke and can't laugh at themselves. I mean, do you want them around? Do they sound like fun people?
Exactly.
The Edmonton scene, very diverse, and we all rip on one another. It's one of the best scenes in Canada, and I will say that over and over again. Even the up and comers, they get it. They get that we're all here to make people laugh. That's it. You want to do all that protesting and activism stuff? There's 4 or 5 universities here. Go have at it. You're in a comedy club. These people came here to laugh. Make them laugh. That's your job. Do it.
Yeah. You brought up the Edmonton scene. I want to ask you generally about the Canadian comedy scene. What's the state of the comedy scene here? How's it doing? And clearly, it appears that everybody is trying to work towards getting out of the country. But generally, how's comedy working here in Canada so far?
I think the future is looking good. We got some good up and comers. I'm also pretty fresh into this. I've only been doing it for 5 years, so I consider that new. I think people are more accepting into what comics are trying to do. They understand what's happening up there. I mean, obviously, every now and then you're going to have some people a little upset if you've seen the clips from Forte that he does with Holtzman walkouts. Holtzman is very good at getting the people going. So, I mean, it's looking good. More and more people are accepting of what's happening on that stage. These are just thoughts. This isn't meant to be manifested into reality. It's just thoughts, dumb ideas that exist in your head, and that's where they end. You don't believe any of this shit. It's just, hey, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to try it on stage. Good jokes and bad jokes, like Patrice O'Neill said, come from the same place. The intention there is to make you laugh. So to try and correlate this with hate speech is insane to me. If I was going up there and I was trying to make statements rather than jokes, then yes, you take me serious. But look at me, for Christ's sakes. You think I come walking in a room that somebody should take me serious? We got relapse James Franco on the show here, Harrison. I walk into a room and I start making statements. Somebody should hit me in the head and tell me to go back of the room, buddy.
Well, we appreciate your time, Brendan. Where can Canadians come and watch Danger Cats shows? Where can they interact with you on social media as well?
Yeah, you know what? We got a big one coming up here in Toronto. We are the first ever Danger Fest with Dan Gyrie, myself, Sam Walker. If you hate us, come down and boo. That's the purpose of the show, to come down, heckle. You can say whatever you want. Come on in. That show is happening here November 16th. And then for tickets and all that, dangercatshop.com to see all of our dates. We're back. We're going cross country here. We'll be heading down to the States as well, working with Brian Holtzman. Danger Cats on social media, Danger Cats Comedy on Instagram, and then Uncle Hack 69 for me.
Right on. Well, if you're upsetting the mayor of Peace River and all these lefties, I feel like you're over the target, Brendan.
Yeah. I got a juicy story for you, Harrison, that I've been hanging on to, and I haven't released it to anybody. And I think you might be the guy to kind of put this out there if you got a little bit more time on your hands.
All right. Well, let's hear it. Let's have it. If you want to do it off the record, perfect. If you want to do it right here, you've got it.
Well, gentlemen, this had happened. This isn't the only mayor that has stepped in to stop one of our shows, actually, or a municipal politician. We were supposed to go to Comox, British Columbia, out on the Vancouver Island there, and the first show had been canceled. They didn't want it. The manager at the venue that we were supposed to go, emails came through, or actually we kept it under wraps, and somehow she figured out what the show was. And then a gentleman had reached out to us. He was the president of the Lions Club there, and he said, you know what, I will take this show on. Let's keep it quiet. You have a venue. We won't say nothing until day of the show, and then we'll figure it out from there. So week of the show, he applies for a liquor license. He puts on that he's having a comedy event. The RCMP then call him 20 minutes after applying for the liquor license, asking, oh, who's the comedy show of? Who are the comedians? He says, Danger Cats. And he goes, oh, they're pretty controversial. Are you sure you want that in the town? Alluding is like, this is more than just stand-up comedy that's going to be taking place. He goes, no, I've been following these guys for quite some time. I don't see anything out of the realm of comedy, stand-up. Everything that they're doing is a joke. They're not pushing any sort of narrative or standing with political parties or whatever it may be, whatever the reasons may be. Following day, a councilman calls him and then attempts to pretty much bribe him by asking, oh, well, what are you expecting on booze sales? And maybe we can make a donation happen to the Lions Club. He then refuses the bribe. And then it leads into that the lease of the Lions Club in Comox is with the city. So then the lease was threatened at him, and was said that, yeah, well, I see that your lease might be up. And he goes, are you serious? You want to take it this far? And he goes, well, that's politics sometimes, and then politics. The following day, the mayor calls him and is demanding a letter that he canceled the show, so she can then wave it around, being like, look what I did for the town. And then tries to educate him on what stand-up comedy is. And then alluding that our show is on par with hardcore pornography by asking him, well, would you play pornography in your venue? Would you play pornography in your venue? And then he responds by saying, well, if people are going to buy tickets to this, then sure, I don't care. If people are going to come down and they want to watch hardcore pornography with one, which is essentially, you know what? It is a bit of a compliment to, put us on par with that. Personally, I think I would rather watch the hardcore pornography than this on stage. You know what I mean? So then it got to that point, and he then was being educated on a mayor from Comox on what comedy is.
So just to confirm here, your show was canceled after counselors tried to bribe the venue host to not host you, and the RCMP called to basically investigate this.
Essentially, yeah. This is what he had told me. The
That is
Lions
insane.
Club president. Yeah, it got to that, and this was the information that was passed along to me. And I'm still trying to confirm it. I've tried calling both of them. I've left messages trying to get a hold of them, and no one will answer the phone. So,
Well, sometimes the people that hate us the most don't accuse us of being journalistic, but in our journalistic efforts, we will have to receive comment. We'll have to reach out to the other side here, the city of Comox, just to get their side. But this is a remarkable story. Unbelievable.
yeah, it's gotten to that level. I'm I didn't know municipal politics was the arbiters of laughter. I didn't.
Right.
I had no idea. I did not know that a mayor, like we're living in the plot of Footloose right now. I feel like I'm Kevin Bacon, just to go tell a crowd of people that I find my sister attractive.
I mean, this does strengthen the case to leave Canada as a comic and go somewhere else and take your act somewhere else, because this is just outrageous. The city of Comox, like you said, I mean, you guys would bring good business to that city and maybe some much needed laughter. I can't imagine that voters of the city government, you know, are know what laughter is at this point. That being said, I bet you guys would have a great show there anyway. You should go there and just host something in the street right up front of City Hall.
We might have to.
That would be great.
Yeah, we'll have to invite you out, Harrison.
That'd be great. Well, as you were saying earlier, you've got some new tour dates coming up in Ontario, I believe, and you've listed where Canadians can find you on social media. In the description of this video, you can find the Danger Cats as well. With that, Uncle Hack, thank you very much for the interview. That was very interesting.
Thank you for having me, Harrison.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll chat later soon.
Sounds great.